momento entrevista aqui, claro, também está na inglês, pero essa nós ainda não multilingual aqui na Curçao, Aruba, Bonaire, nós não compreender fácil. Nós também conversar com o CEO novo de TeleCuraçao Airport Partners, com o senhor Jonny Andersen. I love your name, Jonny. Is it a longer name?
No,
and they call you Jonny for short?
Everybody calls me Jonny, and I'm actually baptized Jonny, or in Norwegian it's Jonny.
Oh,
it's Jonny.
Jonny.
But they started to call, because I've been moving around and working in different countries, and then the easy way is
Jonny.
Jonny. Everybody knows Jonny, you know. So
it's very nice. It's also very island-like.
Okay.
So it fits right in.
Super.
So welcome to Mòru Bondia.
Thank you, Nicole.
And this is your official introduction also to the community of Curaçao.
Okay.
Our airport is so very important. An airport in any country, of course, is important, but you know, we rely on it for so many things, not only for transportation of our own people, but also for the economic pillar, which is tourism, right? And you are now CEO, just coming in from a very difficult period for aviation worldwide, the pandemic. Still, we don't know where everything is going, but here you are.
Yeah.
What made you pick Curaçao, or what made you apply for this position?
Let me start with what you just said.
Yes.
You know, Curaçao Airport is a small airport in the global context of things. You can't compare it to, let's say, the huge big ones like Amsterdam Schiphol or JFK and so on. But it's a very, very important one. For the island, it's critical in all kinds of ways. And you know, it's the gateway in and out of Curaçao. And because of that importance and because of the location, that was the reason why I really found it interesting, this opportunity. Because I really think that there is a lot of potential here, and I really think the location is also really interesting.
We'll come back to that soon,
okay,
but you
yes.
can continue.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when I was approached and asked if I were interested in it, I heard about Curaçao before, and I thought, wow, that's really an interesting location. Then I started to look and read up and Google like everybody else does, and I thought, yeah, I would really like to make a difference for Curaçao and for the airport, you know, like, and trying to bring it to a new level.
Okay.
A new level.
Like I said, we'll get to that point in a little bit, because it's very interesting how you view it, but a little bit more about your impressive resume. You've literally worked all over the world, right? I mean, in the sense of countries that differ enormously, right?
Yeah.
Right now you're in the Caribbean, but you've also been on the African continent.
Yes. My career spans through many different countries, mostly from Europe, but I have also, worked quite a lot in Africa. And I was running the airport network in Kenya for 3 years.
Okay.
And it's 18 airports, 2,000 employees. It's really big and important for Kenya, the same way. But and having that experience with, the challenges that the continent of Africa have, compared, I can also bring that together with the experience that I have from Norway, which is a very long country where the airport network is really important, because it's a country with a lot of fjords and high mountains. And the airport network there is really extensive, it's well funded, and the infrastructure is really on a high level. And then you get that experience compared and including the experience from Africa, where things are underfunded, the infrastructure can be questionable sometimes from a safety perspective and so on. So I come from these two worlds in between, and Curaçao is much, much closer to the Norwegian one than what it is. Yes, I would. I say so.
Yes.
No, it's
well,
true.
we
No,
want
it's
to
really
hear
true.
about
It's
that in a
really true.
minute.
It's really, really true.
You were telling us about the similarities between airports where you've worked, and that Curaçao is more similar in a lot of aspects to the system in Norway, where you're from, compared to, for example, where we would think more easily to airports in a developed African nation. How so?
First of all, I think there are similarities how, let's say, the Northern European structure is, because this is an island, and there are a lot of islands actually also in, especially in Norway. You find and since the airports there, we don't have so much rail, we don't have so much roads, because it's very difficult and expensive to build, even for what can I say, very rich country like Norway. We depend on the aviation sector quite a lot. So that's why the airports supports smaller communities on the coast, fishing communities or oil industry and so on. And what we have done is kind of build that infrastructure based upon the importance of the communities. And from that point of view, the similarities are the importance of the airport and the aviation sector for the island is similar.
Okay.
And I would say the infrastructure here is quite good. Quite good.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you call infrastructure specifically?
Yeah, so an airport, let me say it like this. This is kind of maybe, an airport is an infrastructure provider. We provide a runway, we provide an area, we provide procedures and security and safety measures in place, and of course a building, a terminal building. So an airline or people, for that matter, the users can have the opportunity to actually use the aviation. An airline can fly in or fly out, and they can do it in such a way that it's safe and according to the rules and the regulations that applies for their type of operation. And we provide that infrastructure on the ground.
And ours is pretty
and
good.
our infrastructure is really good. It is really good. Yes, there are issues like everywhere else. You know, maybe a parking area is not that good. We need to resurface it. Maybe a taxiway is kind of a little bit, when it rains, you know, like it floods, those kind of things. Or the electricity sometimes has issues with it, kind of breaks. But those are typical things that you find everywhere. In general, my impression is that the infrastructure at Curaçao Airport is good. It's good.
Okay. So that's good news
Yeah,
this morning. And then back a little bit more about your work experience, because you also worked with the airline industry specifically before you moved to airports.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I have 27 years in the aviation sector.
Wow.
Even my education, my university studies was related to the aviation sector. So it's kind of jet fuel that runs through these veins. And I was actually studying archaeology at the university, and then I needed a temp job so I could kind of survive like a student and have maybe a little bit more fun during the weekends and make my own money. So I got the temp job as a check-in agent with SAS, Scandinavian Airlines, which is kind of the Scandinavian answer or comparable to KLM.
Okay.
And that's where I started my career, and I loved it from day one. It was
really. What did you love about it?
Think about it. You know, all of the somehow an airport is a private space. When you send somebody away, let's say you send them to Netherlands for education and so on, your kids, you know, it is very emotional. It's kind of a milestone, you know. It's a very,
for sure.
And being part of that kind of space or
a very intimate, emotional
it's very
space.
Intimate, and being part of that one
it's reunions, really it's saying goodbye, it's saying hello.
Saying hello, you meet your loved ones, you know, like you embrace them, you cry when they leave. And I loved it from day one. It was, and sending somebody still, it fascinates me today, you know, like it's nearly 100 years now since we started flying, but we are sending people 10,000 meters and more.
In a tube.
In a metal tube.
Exactly.
And it's like thin aluminium that...
Really small.
Yeah, and when you come to the other side, it's a completely different world.
Right.
And there is something fascinating about that one. And when you kind of get into it, you cannot leave. I don't know.
I know exactly. I never worked in the airline industry or the aviation industry, but what you describe is exactly what I feel every time I'm at an airport or in a plane, because I say it's so fascinating. Here we are, everybody, you know, next to each other in an airplane, and hopefully everything goes well, but there's thousands of us in the air right now.
It's
and
very safe.
You know, no, it is very safe. But you know, it goes through your mind, and then you say, hey, here we are on the other side. It's just fascinating. It's fascinating.
And it's a completely different reality when you get on the other side. But I think it's very important to say these things, because during the pandemic, the tourism sector and the aviation part, we were really hit hard, you know, because suddenly there was so much restrictions on borders, there was so much health restrictions, you know, like on travel, distance and so on, and it really hit our industry hard, and we lost a lot of people. They left us. The young ones sometimes think, or actually are thinking, you know, maybe there's not the future in this industry because it's very, what can I say, sensitive or kind of exposed to these challenges again. Will they come again? And I am really focused on trying to bring the young ones on board, because this is a fantastic place to work. I mean, like, not only the airports, but everything that is related to the aviation sector and to the tourism industry.
Yeah, the spin-offs around it.
It's an incredible industry.
And it is permanent. I mean, there is a future, because we as humans need to move.
Yeah.
We move either for work or for vacations or for family matters. It's always in motion.
And think about how much you learn about other cultures and others when you actually visit them, and when they come and visit you. You know, like, and you learn the differences, and they are maybe not so, what can I say, scary or intimidating as you might think. So travel is also about connecting people and create understanding.
Right.
And I feel like we in Curaçao is actually part of that one too, because we have a lot of guests. And we kind of tell them a little bit about ourselves every time they visit us.
Right.
They learn a little bit more about us and how we are and what we think about things that are important. You know.
Earlier you said that the position of Curaçao is very ideal, and that was also attractive, let's say, for you to consider to come and work here. How so?
First of all, you have the ABC Islands, you know, the three ones, and Curaçao is in the middle. Aruba will probably not be so happy when I'm saying this, but and also Bonaire for that matter. But Curaçao is the largest island of the three. And also we are the one with the longest runway. So we have the possibility to actually take down quite large aircrafts, probably the biggest ones of the islands. There are some restrictions, you know, like, but mostly we can take down everything. And looking at that one and the location to South America, and now that we are really focusing on trying to build more traffic out of North America, because I think we are a little bit too dependent on Europe.
Europe, yes.
Specifically one market, the Dutch. Yes, there is an emotional connection, but we are too dependent on it. We are very vulnerable if something will happen there. And there's a lot of things, unfortunately, that is
delicate
in Europe right now. Yes. So from that point of view, with all of these contexts, you know, like with the proximity to South America, we have a push now to try to develop North American traffic to the island, and we are in the center of, let's call it, our smaller brothers and sisters, because we are the biggest one. I think there are some opportunities here that we can expand and look into.
Right. Yeah, and that's what your colleague said when they were here earlier, right? Peggy Cruz was here, and exactly what the government also concluded, you know, to say the government, but everybody involved, that, hey, you know, the pandemic was a real wake-up call, that we need to diversify where we get guests from, tourists
Yeah,
from.
yes.
So that's very interesting. Now that you've mentioned that, let's move on to your vision as well for the airport itself. It's an airport that we've seen develop on a, with large leaps over the last 20 years. Is there room for growth, and how do you measure growth for an airport? Is it only through airlift and how many planes land there every day, or are there other aspects that you also measure it by?
Yeah. I think when you're going to measure a success of the airport, you can of course measure it in financial terms, you know, how much money and so on you make, but I think connectivity is the key. How do we expand and develop the connectivity of the airport and the community here? And with connectivity, I'm talking about how many destinations can you travel directly from the airport, and how many comes in, and then how many frequencies do you have to those destinations that you have, and how big are those aircraft, like the size of those aircrafts, and how are they spread during the day, and so on. Because if there is one thing, if we are able to expand the network, meaning more destinations, we get also more frequencies to those destinations. Let's talk about New York, for example. We have 3 today per week. We would like
with one airline, right?
Yeah, JetBlue. And the numbers and the bookings and the passenger numbers that we are seeing from and to New York are really encouraging. And we really have been working hard to kind of, be able for the JetBlue to sell more seats on those flights. And hopefully we will see quite soon that they will increase. But what this one does is that it makes it easier to do business in Curaçao for us, because suddenly we have better options to travel over there. Also, the ticket prices will be reduced when you have more frequencies, you have more seats, and you have a better offer. And this is kind of the connectivity that we like to measure and that we consider to be a success factor from the point of view of a success of an airport. We really need to work with the connectivity. And specifically towards the North American market.
So you've only been in this position for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah,
September 1st. Today is the 14th.
14th. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But you've analyzed so far the one and other. Perhaps you can just be honest about it. But from what you've already been able to study, what do we need to do as an airport? What do you need to do? Not me. To increase the connectivity that you are talking about.
Well, I think first of all, what we have started now, because we need to actually find out where are we right now. And to be honest, the airport, we have been kind of in the wilderness for some time during the pandemic. We lost ourselves somewhere there, and we need to find a new fundament and a new direction. So what we have done now is that we have started a strategy process, and we're going to deliver that one within 100 days. And this is something that we are doing together with, our partners, meaning we're also talking to the government, we are talking to the holding company, which is kind of controlling the asset, and to develop this one together. And we're going to deliver a new strategy by 15th of November.
Oh.
And in that strategy, we will have some strategic objectives. Now strategies. I hate the word, but some long-term plans and long-term goals. And what we need to do now is to understand where are we, and what are the trends in the industry, and how does it affect the island, and what do we need to do to make sure that we are able to be at the right, or be in the right position when the future kind of comes and hit us.
Because it is coming.
It is.
Right? If we continue on this trend that we've been observing as well, if people are, if their interests keep growing to visit the island for many, many reasons, you as an airport
Yeah.
have to be prepared as well.
That's true. That's
You
true.
said something interesting that right after the pandemic, the period that you're in now, it's kind of finding yourself.
Yeah.
Was it because, everybody just wanted to restart, get it going, let's get the flights back, let's get the people back, or how do you interpret the finding yourself?
The 2 years, I would say 2 years that the pandemic lasted, suddenly everything was turned upside down. Demand disappeared, the aircrafts were empty, people stopped traveling and so on. So you couldn't build a future based upon what you had been through. So taking into consideration that one, looking at, let's say, 2019 and 2018 and saying that we will just continue from there is not the case. Suddenly people we have new ways of working. We are sitting on Teams and whatever kind of digital meeting for us. We have stopped going to the offices. People are traveling and staying at a location to work remotely for, months at a time and deliver things. Also, there is a green change that is very important, but also for this island too, because I think we are also promoting paradise on Curaçao. So we should really embrace that sustainability and the change that is coming. And those are the directions that we need to move into. And also I believe that one of the tasks that I'm really focused on is trying to create jobs for the young ones. It's really important for me. We have the average age at the airport is relatively high.
Really?
Yeah, it is relatively high, and which is a good thing, because then people are loyal and they have, this is a good place to work, so it's a good thing for us, but we mustn't forget the ones that we need to recruit in, and we need to create a place of work and a business that is kind of attractive to the young ones, and that they see there is opportunities and development opportunities and so on. So all of these things, the green change, building a new market, making sure that we also attract the young ones, those are part of this, directions that we are the new level. I'm not calling it a higher level. I'm calling it...
It's part of a vision.
It's part of a vision, and I don't think the original vision was wrong in any way, because it's about developing the socio-economic, opportunities for the island. And I don't think that that's wrong, even now, 20 years after it was actually introduced. I still think it's relevant. But the new direction is based upon those things. And I also think there are some opportunities within electrification, energy hub, making the airport an energy hub.
How so?
Well, you have, what we see now in the future is that most probably we will be flying on electrical aircrafts. Not long haul, but the shorter ones, maybe 5 to 10 years down the road. And it's not so far away from an airport point of view, because if we're gonna see those aircraft actually coming into commercial service, we need to start putting that infrastructure in place already. That means that we need to generate energy too. So we are looking into how can we build that infrastructure with solar panels, wave energy from the sea. We are talking with several companies here in Curaçao, Curoil, for example, on how we can cooperate when it comes to energy generation, because for them also, they also see that they also need to shift and be part of this change that will come.
Because it's global.
It's global, global. And if we don't do that and we continue the way that we always have been doing, will somebody like to come and visit us? I don't know, so we need to do that change. So the energy hub is about generating energy, producing energy in a sustainable manner, so we can charge in the future electrical aircraft, let's say between the islands, which will reduce the cost of travel.
I can imagine.
Really significant. and then also maybe connect to the grid, so we can also provide electricity to the grid on the island, and hopefully also participate in producing energy to the. So we are in charging of electrical cars and so many things that we need to do.
Fascinating.
So the energy hub is also something that we are looking into. Airports are different now, and and I really hope that we can be able to take some of these steps, but there's a little bit of work to do yet.
Before we get to that point.
Yeah, before we get to that
But
point.
you know, when you're a small island, you look always to bigger countries, not to compare, but to kind of see what is coming.
Yeah.
And if 20 years ago you used to say, oh, it'll be a while before that comes around here, nowadays it's not like that anymore.
No.
You know, everything moves at such a fast pace that you need to envision it for yourself as well, in all aspects of the industries which are present in your country. So it's very realistic. I mean, in this show we were talking about electric powered airplanes, you know, so it's not that very far. And I imagine that if you're not prepared as a country, you will fall behind.
You will.
When you talk about connectivity, you know, if you don't keep up when it comes to the point of choosing, okay, which airports are already up to date, you're going to fall behind if you're not up to date.
But I would like to say that there are several initiatives going on now on the islands. So, and I think the first electrical aircraft will take off in November this year, not from Curaçao, but from Mòru. Sorry to say. It's a little bit.
We're next.
Yeah, no,
okay.
yeah, it's kind of.
It's a test?
It's kind of a test. It's related to an event that we will have in Aruba in November, together with Aruba Airport and Bonaire and the other Dutch Antille airports, the other island airports.
Interesting.
Which is related to electrical sustainability. And
You're
so on.
right. We reported on that recently. Yes.
And then will be the first electrical aircraft, and that's where we are going. That's where
and
we are going.
And you know, when you also have the vision not only of an airport, because it's one thing to have the airport, but also of the governments, it's so important, because when you talk about connectivity between the islands themselves, the Dutch islands, it's always been a big concern of the people, of the I can't think of the word in English right now, but of the islanders, that it's so expensive to fly in between the islands. And you know, we're all connected. We all fly for business, we fly for education, we fly for family, and of course tourism. So something like that, as you say, is not that far, because if it reduces costs and it can be commercialized quickly, it will make such a huge difference.
It will. And I mean, like over the years, historically speaking, the numbers of visits between the islands, I mean, like now I'm talking local traffic only, was much bigger than what it is today. And of course, the operators that are operating today, it's a very expensive operation, because it's up and down. They are very short flights, you know. And that takes a lot of, what can I say, maintenance, and the regulation is very, what can I say, the maintenance cost is very high for when you have these short hops and so on. So it's a challenging operation for them, you know, the ones that are operating today. And that, of course, and the fuel price is also really high. So that, of course, drives the price up quite.
And what about airport fees? Because this is also where you come in.
Yeah, that's true.
The local airlines often say, you know, the landing fees and things like that. How do you see this part?
I think that that's something that really needs to be addressed. If we're going to go into the future and support something which will be very capital intensive to invest in, if we're going to get somebody to come and invest in electrification or electrical aircrafts between the islands and so on, we need to make sure that the fundament for that one and all of the regulations are put in place, and also the fee structures are in place, so we are able to stimulate for them to actually succeed. Because most probably it will be too expensive today to come in, because it's now because it's a pilot, it's kind of early investment, and there's a lot of risk for whoever would like to come. But there are interest out there. We know we have interest out there when it comes to looking at the islands and seeing if it's possible to start, because it's the distance between the islands is not that big. Now I'm talking the ABC.
Right.
So it's
right.
it's perfect from the point of view of an early starter. But still, the investment of buying those aircrafts are quite high, and then you need that infrastructure.
Correct.
But we want to be there when it happens, so we don't lose that opportunity, as you said.
What we were just
Yes.
talking about. Yeah.
Because if you have, and let me just like expand on that one, if you have a network out of Curaçao, maybe we will get more long-haul flights from Europe, from different countries than, for example, only Holland and Belgium, that will maybe come here and then go to the other islands and so on and so on. So there's a lot of interesting possibilities with it, but it's still early, and now we are kind of processing that one, and we are looking for partners and so on to develop this energy hub concept that we are trying to see what we can do.
It's fascinating because you do see, let's call them traditional company business structures, if you will, even with our local utilities company, right? They're not moving away, but they're diversifying their services.
Yeah.
You know, it's becoming a telecom company as well. Yeah, because again, things are shifting, things are moving, and it might not be tomorrow, it might not be in 5 years, but if you're not with the times, when the time comes, you'll be left behind.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
And I mean, I read a little bit about this, of course, but the only thing that is certain now is changes. They are happening with shorter cycles than previously.
Yes.
So changes, and we are talking about major changes for an industry or for
the auto industry.
They
for
are really
example.
changing, and maybe previously it was maybe 15 years and then 10, and now we can see changes, like very quickly. And for us, electrification will be one of the biggest changes, and we as an island need to be ready for that one.
Exactly.
Another question is also, do we want mass tourism? I think it's a very important question. Do we want mass tourism? I'm really happy to say that I see that there's a lot of hotel rooms now being, added to the already existing, let's say, number of hotel rooms on the island. In 2023, we will probably look at an increase of nearly 2,000 rooms, 1,500 to 2,000 rooms on the island. Sandals, they have opened and they are continuing opening on Corredon and so on and so on. But we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure that supports it, not only from the airport point of view. Because transport,
it's already a problem.
Queues and other things and so on. And so I mean, so this has to go hand in hand.
Right.
So a lot of interests are asking us about, we need to bring in more traffic and stimulate the airlines and so on. But are we ready for all of this also on the, beyond the airport on the island too? So we really need to coordinate what we are doing, because a journey starts from the time you leave your home or until you reach your destination and then back again. Then it's when, and if the airport functions really well, the airlines are functioning really well and so on, but maybe the, incoming part beyond the airport is having challenges, then we need to look into that one too.
For sure.
Yeah. So
we recently spoke to some representatives from the tourism industry, and it's already an issue, and right now you deal with it. You say, it's like, oh, we've been waiting for this for so long. Finally, the tourists are back, and they're back in droves, but restaurants are full. You need reservations, right? Transport. Not enough taxis, not enough.
Talk to a taxi driver. I talk to people.
You talk to them.
You talk to taxi drivers and how is business, You talk to people and working in hotels and so on, many of them are saying that times are quite, quite
It's
optimistic.
picking up, yeah.
It's picking up right now, and it's looking quite good going forward. Meaning we are on the map on many markets right now, and specifically the North American one.
But we need to keep it up because
And I really need to keep. But we also need to think a little bit how much,
exactly. Because there's indefinitely a cap at a certain point where you can operate it comfortably, lucratively,
Yes.
but without the added pressure or breakdowns of certain other industries or even your nature, which comes with it.
Yeah, and develop it sustainable,
Right.
like sustainable development, so we are able to handle it in a good manner, like over time and so
The
on.
balance. Fascinating, Mr. Andersen. Unfortunately, we are past the time. No, but I think maybe he has to come back, right? Fine.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, but before I have to ask you this final question because we talked about the vision. Of course, you've been here for 2 weeks, so it would be really great to talk to you again, maybe near the end of the year. Yeah, remember? But before we let you leave, what's your impression of Curaçao? You said you Googled, of course you did your research about the airport before you took the job, but what is your impression as Mr. Andersen of Curaçao?
I think it's great. It's like I really feel welcome and people is so nice. No, really, I'm kind of like, I'm getting really touched by it, the way that my colleagues have met me and I'm really pleased of being here. So
is it beautiful?
It's beautiful, of course, and the waters, the colors, and it's just like incredible.
It's really nice, right?
I'm not a beach person. I'm a polar bear, since I come from the Arctic. But
well, maybe you'll become.
Maybe I will become. So let's see. So, but it's a fantastic island. I think you have something very, very special here. I really think so. And you have to protect it, and you also should tell the world about this fantastic place.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having this first conversation with you. Very fascinating what's to come, again, the vision. And we will be pending for the plans you have as well beyond November when you introduce it officially. So the invitation stands for you to come back whenever possible to not just for us, but for the public to know more about our international airport.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for
having me.
I love to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.